Welcome back to the 6th episode of the Launch Your Farm Show, where I interview Ado Topuz with Agent Locator. In today's episode, Ado and I talk about how tracking your leads can make a major impact in your lead flow. We talk about why giving the leads the information they want can position you as the expert. Ado also shares how you can automate much of this to save you time and energy so that you can do what you do best, which is sell homes. We talk about some marketing ideas that you can implement into your farm to start generating leads right away, and a super easy text message that you can send right now that'll help re-engage your leads. And we talk about how to use online marketing to ensure you win more listing appointments, plus a ton of other great ideas that you can implement into your business as well. So be sure to like and subscribe, check out this episode, and be sure to share it with anyone you know that would appreciate this. And here's the episode with Ado. Thanks for joining us today on the Launch Your Farm Show. Today we've got a great guest, a personal friend of mine. It's Ado Topuz from Agent Locator. So Ado, why don't you take a second, tell us a bit about yourself and a bit about your business.
Yeah, and awesome. Thank you so much for having me on, Ryan. It's a pleasure and always a pleasure to be able to help in any way, shape, or form. So I have, I'm a geek by trade. I have literally been, I've been loving computers and passionate about computer programming for the longest time. And then about 10 years ago, I got into specifically real estate. So we got into, doing lead generation, lead qualification, and then later on started building systems. So websites, CRM, lead gen platforms, landing pages, and all this different stuff that help real estate agents generate leads online and do things online a little bit better. So we're a company based out of Mississauga, Ontario. We do cover the entire Canadian side, and then we are in some parts of the United States as well, and expanding throughout different states. And when we say expanding, we typically, in order for us to get into a state, we need to pull their feed in so that we have listings coming in and stuff like that. So that is what we do, and yeah.
So you're awesome at what you do, and I've always said that I'm a big fan of your company, and I've been with you for a number of years, and I can't say enough good things, and that's part of the reason I wanted to have you on. So your specialty is really online systems, online marketing, and kind of that follow-up and CRM system. So when it comes to farming, why don't we kind of just dive into some strategies and things like that that we can talk about? So.
Yeah, awesome. So there's always, obviously, you have your print farming, and then you can have your digital farming, and then you can complement your print farming by digital as much as possible. Yeah. So when we've worked with clients to assist them with their print farming, we've done things like trying to track. I mean, the biggest issue that we have with farming is knowing, okay, what am I getting out of this? What am I getting out of the farm? Because generally we know that farming takes a little bit longer to work. It doesn't work immediately. So agents generally maybe even give up on doing farming because they don't see an immediate result from it. So there's a few ways that we've learned to track with farming. So number one way to track in farming, really online, would maybe be using a phone number that's a trackable number. So one thing that we can actually talk about where you can implement something immediately, if you are currently doing farming and you want to be able to track how many calls does that number actually get, what you can do is you can go to Twilio and purchase a phone number where you can automatically forward any call that comes for that number onto your cell phone, so that the client doesn't even know that they're calling, that there's a forwarding happening. But then that is the only place where you're advertising that phone number. That means that any call that comes to that is actually off of that farm. So that's the first thing you can do.
And that's surprisingly cheap too. A lot of people don't realize, they think it's expensive. Back in the day it was. We use it with your system as well. It's $1 a month for a phone number. So
that's correct.
It doesn't cost you that much more to have additional phone numbers if you're using
that. Is correct. So the cost on Twilio, there's two different costs associated. Number one is the phone number itself, which is really cheap, $1 a month. And then number two is when you do get a call into that number, Twilio does have the ability to also record that conversation fully. So if you're recording it, then they're going to be charging you per minute on the recording. It's still fairly inexpensive when you really think about it, because it's something like pennies per minute. It's really not that expensive. And really, when you think about it, how many calls are you going to get from that farm in anyway? So you might be spending maybe $3-4 a month on that by actually tracking every single call that's coming in, so 100% what's happening. And that's fairly easy to set up. There's instructions online that you can follow where you can set up Twilio forwarding directly to your phone number. And that's one way to really track any kind of printed marketing. Number two way to track printed marketing is by having some kind of call to action on your actual flyers. So a call to action on your flyers, we've always looked at what can we put out there that actually gets people to respond to a flyer.
Yeah.
And when we really think about, what do people really want? What can we send them on a flyer that actually would have they would have an interest in? And majority of the time, we know that it's the stats of their own area, right? People want to know what listings are selling in the area, how much they're selling for, and when they come up for sale. And you see that in flyers that are being sent out because the flyers contain the stats many times. And as one of the call to actions that maybe not a phone number, if they're not ready to list their property right now,
Yeah.
you can say, hey, would you like to get automatically updated whenever a new property is listed or sold in your area? And you can have your actual domain name be the community name. So, you can have www.yourcommunityname.com.
Yeah.
And when they open that, I'll show you guys a quick example of what you could have loaded there. So let me just open up my screen here, and I'll share my screen so you can see. Give me a second. I prepared it, and now it's gone. Too many screens.
I can attest you did have it ready.
Yeah, I did prepare it. Okay, so here's an example. And share screen. Share screen. And where is this one? There we go. Share. You can see my screen right now.
Yep.
Perfect. So if I go back to just to kind of reiterate what we said, on your flyer that you're sending out in farming, as a call to action, people love seeing stats of their own neighborhood because that's the price of their home, and that impacts the price of their home. And as a call to action saying, hey, would you like to get updated instantly when your neighbors are selling, or be a nosy neighbor in essence? And then when they go to www.yourcommunity.com, this website opens up. It says instant updates when your neighbors are selling. And if you wanted to have your own branding here, you can also incorporate your own branding into our landing page here, so it doesn't have what we have here.
Yep.
The concept of this is really simple. So if I go in and I enter an address, you want to give me an address, Ryan? Doesn't matter which one.
We'll do my work office. It's 3027 Harvester Road. It's commercial, but we'll pull it up.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, just give us an idea. We're not going to go into detail of it, but this automatically populates addresses. We use Google auto suggestion for addresses. So whatever address they put in, it will find it.
Yep.
And then when they land on the next page, it gives them the ability to say, okay, well, this is where I want to get updated. When a new property comes out in that area, I want to, and I currently have a detached home, let's say, and the meter, I can say maybe a 300 meter radius.
I'd go further out just because it's commercial space. So
yeah, I won't go through the full thing. I just want to
Okay.
give kind of an example of what would happen. So what would happen here is after this person has set themselves up to receive updates, anytime a new property gets listed here or sold here, they get an update. So where we have sold data, for example, Toronto Real Estate Board, we have a sold data for it as well.
Yep.
So when a property gets sold, the client is updated and emailed, hey, the property sold, here's what it sold for. If you have any questions, let us know. And then not only that, but our system actually tracks all of this, meaning that when they look at a property, you will know that they look at a property. So
and that's the powerful part of it, really. It's the being able to keep tabs on when they're doing it, and you can see who's active and who's actually using it, who's not.
So if we're going back to that concept of tracking, right? So, if you're tracking to find out what am I getting out of my farming area, right? So if you send out 10,000 flyers on a monthly basis, you can say, number one, I've received 3 phone calls from the flyers. And the number 2, I've received 15, 20, 30 leads, whatever it may be, from that flyer, because when the lead comes in, they're entering their first name, last name, phone number, and email address. You're kind of accumulating those leads coming into your system so that you can even reach out to them and say, hey, I know you got my flyer and you've set yourself up to receive listings on a daily basis. If you have any questions, I'll be able to answer them, whatever it may be. But that's kind of, that's a way to track the conversions, because generally tracking is looking at, out of all the flyers that I've done at the end of the year, I've made X number of deals from the campaign, right? And that's sometimes hard because it takes so much longer for that to come through. But this way you can really track the calls that you get, and then you can track the leads that you get. And then later on, maybe you want to track, out of these 15, 20 leads that I got, how many of these people I'm actually selling.
Yeah.
So that you can find out what that is like. So that's, yeah.
I think, and so there's some powerful things I want to share with this too. Is one is it's automated, and that's one of the most critical points of it, because a lot of people will get into farming and they start doing things, and then they add more to their plate than they can handle.
Right.
And to me, when I got started with farming, it's like I need to create as many systems I can put in that will be the least amount of work as possible for me, that are still effective. And having a strategy like this, it literally takes care of it. It sends the listings for you. It updates them, and you don't have to go in and set anyone up on a search. You don't have to update anyone like that. It does it for it. And that's a critical part. And the other part, I think, for me with something like that is, even if people aren't selling, and I've used this in the past because we've used your system, we've been using your system for years, is the value for not just the seller side, but now when you've got X amount of sellers who've said they want to know what their house is worth, you can now, when you have a buyer, go through and say, who do I have in there that might be selling, that it's a potential? Right. And we've been able to line up deals where people have said, I might sell, or are thinking 6 to 12 months. And now, they're active and they're looking, and you can connect them with your buyer. That
sure.
adds tremendous value to the buyers and to your sellers.
Yeah, for sure. And that transitions into the kind of the buyer leads, and then generating buyer leads on a general basis is, something that, here's an example of an account. This account has a total of 6,135 leads in the system. And these are majority buyer leads, people that are looking to buy properties. And, there's a lot of people in here that are also receiving listings on a daily basis from the nosy neighbor.
Yep.
But I just want to kind of showcase a few things that you'd be able to do inside of this platform to people. So let's say if you want to pull up all the leads currently in the system that are receiving listings. So you can say, filter, give me all the leads that are actually receiving listings. So out of these, 4,491 are actually receiving listings on a daily basis. And if you want to kind of see what they're looking at, you can go into any one of these leads. As an example, let's pull up this lead here. And if I want to see this lead was active 1 day ago, they've looked at 12 properties, 10 were detached, 2 semi-detached. These are the areas they've looked in. And if I click on more details, I can see specifically which properties they looked at, how many photos of these properties they looked at, and what was the property view count. So they looked at property twice, looked at 53 photos of it. So it gives you a little bit of a statistic and understanding of what they're looking at. And this is on the buyer side. Obviously, if this was a lead that you have in a system where, this is their own home, you would only see properties when they receive a link that a property is for sale. It would show their area and their properties they're looking at. Yeah. So that's
another thing which I think is important too, is especially with your system, is you have the partial leads, and if you can show the partial leads, because I want to share a story with that if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So
if they don't fill it out, so for the listeners checking in, if they don't complete it, like this one, you said this was ours on our Harvester Road, it gives you the address they typed in and where they came from. Yeah. And a really powerful thing is to actually follow through with that, and is look to match that up with people in your database. Because so what happened was this spring, I was going through and checking it out, and I had recognized one of those addresses, and I knew that address was someone that was in my database. Right. So I reached out to them and said, hey, I noticed you did an evaluation. And he said, yeah, we're just kind of getting things started, but I didn't really go through with it. Anyways, I ended up listing the property, but I caught him at that moment where he was a month or two ahead of where he was ready to list his home. And it was because he came through and did a partial evaluation. So even though they didn't fully complete the home evaluation, the value there was, so I just made, I think it was,
so that is a really good note
from that.
Yeah, and that is a really good note even for tracking your own stuff. So for example, if you have this domain name set up where you're, yourcommunity.com, and when they put that address in, even if they don't fill out that last step, which is their contact info, you're going to see in your partial leads that they put that address in. So if you do door knocking along with your farming, you could actually go in and say, hey, you might have been curious, but you didn't fully finish setting up the form. Essentially, when we look at the partial leads, that's also a list of people that have in the area where you're doing your farming are most likely entering their address. And because I didn't submit the rest of this form, this address is here. If I was to submit this form, this address would not be here anymore, because now that partial lead becomes a full lead.
Yeah, which is awesome and then powerful, because kind of somewhat of the motivation. And I always tell people, don't write off the partial leads. Obviously, the ones that take the full step is a lot more purposeful because they've gone through it, but there's still
Right.
some value in those partial leads as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you go back to the nosy neighbor screen?
Yeah.
I want to share something as well. The actual landing page itself.
Let's go to the beginning. Yep.
So one thing that I always tell people, especially when you're doing any type of farming, is your message should match your marketing.
Yes.
And so what we did was when we signed up for this, I liked this look at this, and I liked that when we designed our site, we had it set up with the same design. And what we did was we actually made postcards with the same image, and it basically looked like a screenshot of that.
Yes.
We changed the wording so it said to go to the website, and then where it says type in your address, we put in the actual address, it's the website itself. And we use this postcard, and we actually took a huge, like a wide size postcard. So it wasn't just a standard size. It was like 4x8 or something like that, or
Yeah.
long, like that. And it was a vertical postcard. And the important thing with that is, and a lot of people don't get this, is when people go there, they're going to be more likely to sign up when the message matches the market.
Absolutely.
And when it looks the same, then there's that congruency with it, and they see, okay, this isn't just some fly by night thing. It's important. So like you mentioned, is you can actually personalize it to your marketing. So you can change that and put in your own branding and putting your own images in the background. But I think it's critical to make sure people understand what you're setting up should match.
Exactly. So if you have your branding, your flyers have a different picture, then you want a different picture in the background here, 100%. And onto that part, actually, I wanted to pull it up here. In our CRM system, and this is in the old CRM system, we actually have the flyer that you can download the flyer. So this image, we've paid full rights to. And so you can take this image as we have it printed out, and we actually prepared it here. So I can show you an example of what that looks like and drag it on here. So right here, it says flyer, download flyer here. And when you download flyer here, it's a zip file that you can then take and just change the text on there, and the flyer looks exactly like that. You can change whatever, put whatever you want in there. So that's something for sure that you can do. We also have the home worth page, which is sort of the other landing page we have. So where people are looking for the value of their home, you can get leads. If one of your call to action says, hey, would you like to get the current value of your home, you can say value community or communityhomevalue.com and send it to this page.
And I think it's important to note too, especially if you're sending out hard copy stuff to online, is to switch up the message and switch up the offer as well. And that to go from what's your home worth, and then next month you could be sending a nosy neighbor, or are you thinking of selling? Because some people will send the same thing over and over and over again, and that's fine, but you're only going to capture that percentage of the audience. And it's surprising at how many people will respond to one but not the other. And we've done tests where we've sent a postcard with both on one. So like one side will be the home worth and one side will be the nosy neighbor. And certain people are going to respond to one and not the other. So mixing those messages in there is really important to capture as many people in your farm as possible.
So on to another part. I want to kind of showcase this as well. Many times people want to see immediately, currently, I want to see what's been sold in my area. So let's say you're currently farming, let's take a look at this area here. So let's say I'm farming this area here, and you want to automatically give all your clients, and we set this up, you want to give all your clients the ability to pull up all of the listings that have been sold in that area within the last year. What you could do with our system as well is on our websites, you can actually draw out where you're farming and then take this as a URL, and you can purchase, www.communitysoldlistings.com and say, if you want to see currently what are all the sold listings in that area, when they go to that domain name, it's going to open up a page like this. It's going to show what you drew around, and it's going to make these, it's going to hide these, it's going to make them actually register for them to view it. So if I click here, I have to register to actually view that information, which is also then capturing a lead for you.
Which is huge. And now I want to add to that too, because a lot of people get scared about giving out sold data, and they think that they're giving away all their information, or they don't have control over things. If your board doesn't allow it and you can't give out sold data, that's fine, and you can't do that. But if your board allows you to do that, and you can do that, the amount of business you'll gain by doing that correctly will far outweigh the business you're going to lose. And some people will come on and they'll take advantage of it and get the information. They'll either sell privately or work with their cousin who sells and doesn't live in the area. And in my opinion, has always been fine. I wasn't going to get that business anyways. If they're just using people for information, I wasn't going to get the business.
Right.
But we did something like this with our farm when we started, and that was one of the distinguishing things that we did was we were providing the people information up front. Every month we were showing them what was selling it, and they said, no one's ever done this. No one's
People
ever
want
added this much value.
Yes.
And that's the information they want. And we ended up growing a huge business from it.
Yeah, and you're the one giving it to them at the end of the day. So when you really think about it, if your board allows solds, you have to understand that many other agents are providing it.
Yeah.
And if you're not providing it, then you're actually playing catch up to them because your clients may go elsewhere and get it and then end up working with somebody else. Or potential clients in this case. So if the board allows it, it's definitely something you can do and should do. And that is, once they do register and once they do validate their account, they can look through all the listings. And again, you're going to see everything in your backend. You're going to see which listings they've looked at, how many photos they've looked at, and every time they get new updates, they can look at that. Another thing that I want to point out here as well is with the system, they can actually save this as a search as well, so that anytime new properties come out of that area, we'll automatically update them with sold listings as well. So that's something immediately they can do. So whether you use that landing page, where this landing page does not show the solds right away,
right?
It actually just emails it to them. Where this landing page will show them the solds right away, and it can automatically send them those solds on a daily basis.
And I think it's also important to note too that sending someone the average sale price in the neighborhood may be a step in the right direction, but it's not as powerful as sending them what's actually sold. And some people will do that. They have a news report or a letter they send out that shows average days on market, average price point. People want to know, like, what does my house sell for? What's it like? And again, you'll be surprised at how much business you'll get from that when they see it. So I had a client of mine who became a client who was on our report and saw that the neighbors came on the market and sold for X dollars and said, well, frig, if that sold for that price, then I'm going to sell now too. It was triggered because he got the sold price. He knew what was happening. If I just sold him an average sales price in the neighborhood, that would probably not have been the trigger for him to say, okay, I think I'm ready to sell. So when you provide them with that information, it empowers them and it empowers you as well, which to me is
absolutely
important.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can gain a lot more than lose from that perspective, 100%.
So not using your system aside, because not everyone's going to use your system, but if they haven't, they should be using it because it's fantastic. Sure. Online, we talked about off camera before we started about some approaches. You talked about Facebook. So can we dive into like some of the strategy you think would be a good approach for some agents with Facebook?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple things that you can do with Facebook that really make sense. And we've seen, I know one of the things you're going to talk about as well. So when it comes to farming, so, when you think about, if you get a listing that's in another area completely, and, you may not want to advertise that listing to your farm, you should be advertising every single listing you get to your farm. So what you should do with a digital farming kind of concept is, if you're spending any kind of money on farming a very small area like this, for example, even if you get a listing that is in a completely different area, in Mississauga or South Oakville or wherever it is, I would send and post an ad directly to the people in that area, showcasing your logo, your information, whatever you have on your actual farming newsletter. That should also be translated onto Facebook as well, so that they're seeing you constantly posting listings that you're selling, whether it be in that area or not. So that is one trick that I've seen. I mean, I've seen a lot of people, if they get a listing in South Oakville as an example, but they're not farming South Oakville, they're boosting or sending or advertising that listing in South Oakville in the area to the people where they're actually where that listing is. That is a strategy. But if you're spending money on farming, if you're spending money on farming that area, it's much better that those people see you constantly active rather than the people that have never seen you before. So there's a much likelier chance you're going to get your farm area to respond than you will some other area that you're in. So that is, pick an area that you're going to have, and whether you're currently doing farming or not doing farming, you may want to pick an area that you're going to constantly bombard with ads on a regular basis, where you're doing business in, rather than trying to blanket the entire concept. And that's when it comes to farming. I mean, when it comes to online lead generation, and that's, I know one of the things that you wanted to talk about as well was, when we look at a strategy of online lead generation, we do get agents that say, hey, I want to do lead generation only in my farm area. So I want to only do lead generation here. And it is impossible. It is impossible to do strategic, proper lead generation in a very small area. And I'll talk about a few reasons why. Number one, online lead generation is not about quality. It never has been about quality. It's about quantity. The concept and the idea is let's get as many leads as we can, go through them as fast as we can to get to the few that are actually good. And when you're limiting yourself to a small area like that, you're not going to get quantity. And not only that, but we can't even target people that are looking to buy homes in that area. So one example of how we look for people that want to buy homes is people that go to Google, as an example, and search for homes for sale in whatever area they're looking to buy in. And now these are the ads that are kind of up here. Those are the ads where we're posting, and then when they click on one of those ads, they're being taken to lead generation websites similar to this, where they're getting them in and getting the lead coming in. That's kind of the idea. So when you think about it, if somebody's searching for homes for sale in Mississauga, we don't know whether they're looking in this area or they're looking at, Oakville or wherever else they're looking. Does that kind of make sense? Yep.
So one of the things that you talked about is advertising those listings. One of the strategies that I've implemented, and that's what I want to talk about too, is that as I started borrowing listings from other agents in my farm area. So I reached out to agents and said, hey, I'm working in this area. I'd love to do some online ads and help promote your listing.
Right.
Not some of them will say yes, some of them will say no, some of them don't get back to me. But that's one way to increase the odds of you getting leads in there is we started advertising those listings. So we started putting them on Facebook marketplaces, Facebook pages, and then you can get some little more specific where if there's a group, like a Facebook group for that neighborhood. So like we used to do with the Orchard, there's an Orchard group. So you could be posting your listings in that area and getting it seen by those locals.
Right.
And then for me, now I'm attracting people, and I was intentional with always putting in the ads where that neighborhood is. Because sometimes you get people on there looking and they go, oh, I didn't realize it was in this area or whatever. So I was very upfront with it so they could see that so now my new farm area is Binbrook. So it's check out this beautiful home in Binbrook, detached townhome in Binbrook. And now I'm attracting a lot more intentional people. The one thing you talked about is it's hard to narrow it down when you're doing a neighborhood. The one benefit is if you live in a small town, right? So Binbrook, the area where farming is actually a town. It's a lot easier to search for Binbrook because they're looking Binbrook. Now I don't get as many leads as if I was doing Hamilton,
right?
But they're a lot more intentional with the search if they're looking in Binbrook. So if someone is farming a small area that's a named area outside of it, then you can be a little more purposeful. But like you said, you're not going to have the volume, so it may be harder.
Yeah,
to get as many leads.
If the entire area, if the name is common, it's much easier to do lead generation for Binbrook, and I'm sure there's others, a ton of them. But if you're doing a section of the city, where there might be, I don't even know, 200-300 homes here, then there's no way to say, people aren't searching for homes for sale near Sundale Park. Generally, maybe a few do, but not a lot of people search that way. And that's kind of the number one reason why you can't narrow down that way.
Exactly. So you guys have a ton of clients and you got a lot of people doing online ads. That's a big part of what you guys do is running ads. What do you see as the most effective way to generate leads for people? Is it Facebook ads? Is it Google pay-per-click ads? Is it buyer leads? Is it seller? Like what, ideally, if someone's thinking of getting started doing online ads for any type of area, where do you see is the most effective way for someone to start?
Yeah. So there's obviously, we have Google, which is, the search engine. And then we have Facebook, which is, we're targeting people by interests, and we're targeting people by location, gender, age, so on and so forth. And I just want to kind of cover both sides properly because I don't want to say one is better than the other. I want to let other people make the decision what they think is better than the other, primarily because we have clients that do both and they do very well with both. But when we really look at which one works better, let's look at it this way. With search, we have intent, meaning that people are searching for homes for sale in Mississauga, as an example. And when we have intent, we don't know that they're going to buy today, tomorrow, a month from now, a year from now. We just know that they're searching for a home for sale.
Yeah.
And on Facebook, we're advertising to general population, and we're trying to catch them with an ad. Our ad is download a list of homes under 600,000 in Binbrook, as an example.
Yep.
And it's catching a lot of people, and it's catching the interest of a lot of people now, whether they might be, on Facebook looking for a home or not. That's for you guys to determine.
Yeah.
That's where intent and curiosity sometimes from a perspective may get a little bit of a different quality of the lead.
Yep.
So what we have been suggesting to our clients so far is if you're limited on a budget, and meaning that you don't have the ability to do both, you probably are better off starting with Google, primarily because they have a little bit more of an intent. And then once you've capped out Google, meaning that if you're looking to spend money in Bidbrick as an example, you may cap out at spending maybe $1,000 a month. I really don't know. I haven't looked into it.
Yeah.
But maybe $1,000 a month on Bidbrick, which could be the max, so you can get as many leads as you can from Google.
Yeah.
And then once you've capped out search, maybe you can run onto Bing, and then you can do social as well, where you can really start targeting social from the social perspective, where you're getting a wide variety of leads.
Yeah.
Now, social, I've seen social do incredibly well as well, but from teams that are really good at follow-up.
Right.
So, follow-up is the number one key to getting internet leads to work. If you don't have your follow-up in place, then it's not gonna work. It really truly will not work unless you have, number one, the ability to talk to people that don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
The best way that I've actually explained internet leads in the past is to say, if I told you, instead of cold calling 1,000 people, and these are leads that are maybe Google leads, I would say, don't call 1,000 people out of the phone book. I'll get you 1,000 people you can call that I know went online to look for a home. They're searching for a home, but they don't know that you're going to be calling them.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of a comparison of how well can you do those leads. So you just have to create a script and proper way to talk to these people. And that's one thing that I'd love to mention is one of the things that we have been doing over the last, I think, a year and a half now is we've been doing these live dials. So what live dials are is we hired a lady that essentially calls these leads and then records herself calling them. I'm just going to pull up our YouTube channel so I can showcase that YouTube channel, because that's something you guys can do immediately and start getting immediate value from, where you can listen to how she's qualifying the leads so that you can do it yourself as well. Actually training our
I
website.
gotta mention, I just recently recorded with Michael Samra from Prospecting Ninjas. So
amazing.
He was on there and he shared some scripts and he was talking about that and saying it's really about finding the opportunity in the people that you don't think they want to talk to you, and it's like, how do you hear that opportunity, and then how do you create that opportunity in the conversation? And his whole thing is that scripting is so important. And I know with Beverly, we were going to show is scripting is the right way to do it, and having the right approach will make all the difference.
Yeah, it's knowing how to handle an objection. I mean, if you're calling a lead that's looked at homes online and they said, "Well, I'm just looking," everybody's just looking, right? And that's just the nature of it. Then your response, a lot of times you really don't know how to respond. But a good response that Beverly's actually brought on here is, "Oh, that's amazing! Isn't it nice that we can have a website like this online where you can just look and see what's available? So tell me, what are you looking at? What are you looking for?"
Yeah.
That's kind of a natural response where you can get them talking to you. And what we've done here with Beverly is when we do these webinars, is we've cut up. So we've taken the gold nuggets of her conversation. So instead of you watching an hour-long webinar, we've cut it up into 2, 3, 4, 5-minute conversations where, here's an objection, here's how to handle it. Here's an objection, here's how to handle it. So if you go to training.agentlocator.ca/ and if you click on live dials here, number one, you can actually register to get notified every time she does one of these live dials. We have them on the first Wednesday and the third Wednesday of every single month. And you can listen to her live, and then also you can scroll down here and then view all of these videos that we've put together, as well as if you want to join our YouTube channel, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, and every time we post a new video, you're going to get updated that we've posted a new video. That way you don't have to keep coming back to this website to kind of look at it.
And the great thing with Beverly too, and her approach is very conversational, and it doesn't come across as bull crappy salesperson. And she's is really having a conversation. When you hear the videos and you watch them, you'll get a real sense of like she's literally coming from contribution. She's helping them. She wants to talk to them, and people end up wanting to talk to her. And it's not this old school pushy salesperson approach.
Yeah.
It's just feels a lot more natural for a lot of people who may be skeptical about scripts.
Yeah. So I mean, we prior to Beverly and prior to doing live dials, we would feed our client scripts, and we knew they worked.
Yep.
But one of the things that's really made it difficult for agents is to follow a script. They sound like robots.
Yeah.
You're saying this after this after this,
Yeah.
and it's where Beverly kind of changed the whole thing for us is that people were able to listen to her
Yeah.
and hear her say it.
Yeah.
And then they would mimic exactly what she's saying and how she's talking. And
Yeah.
that changed our entire concept of everything.
Even if you hand them the exact same script written down and then hearing it changes the approach.
Completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different. They and we've also had people that say, listen, I'm not as energetic as Beverly, which is completely cool. I mean, we're currently looking for somebody that has less of a kind of vibe. She's a very energetic lady.
Yeah.
She gets on and she's, hyper. So we have that subset of clients that are not as energetic. So we're looking for somebody to actually do live dials just like her, but is a little bit of a less known. And we've recently found somebody that I'm really excited about and looking forward to getting her on and
Nice.
having the same thing done just differently and seeing whether some other people can adapt to how she does it as well.
Good. And for you, like you said, the follow-up is critical. And I tell people that all the time when it comes to internet leads. And people ask, should I do internet leads? And my first question is, are you committed to doing it full on? Because if you're not committed to doing it full on, it's not worth it. So if you are farming and you want to do internet leads, you got to be committed to having a good follow-up system, having the time to follow up, getting good at the scripts, having the systems in place, spending some money on ads. Does it work? 100%. Absolutely does it work. You got to be committed, and you can't dabble in it. Like you can't. Yeah, I can't dabble in building a car. I can't build half a car and go racing. You have to really commit. And with internet leads, you really have to be involved with it if you want to have true success with it.
Absolutely. You have to understand where these people are coming from. Put yourself in the shoes of the people of these leads that are coming in, so you can understand how they're thinking. Number one, they have zero trust, meaning that this is a lead that came in, and they don't know who you are. They don't know what it is that you do. They don't know how helpful you are. So you want to show them immediate action to helping them and saying, whatever I can do for you. I see you're looking at some listings here. I want to be able to answer any questions you might have. So again, these leads are not clients. They're not saying, hey, Ryan, give me a phone call.
Yeah.
They're leaving their information and you're trying to reach out to them to help them. And as Beverly always says it, when you call, don't call with the intent that you want to sell them. Call with the intent that you actually want to help them.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, through the help process, determine and find out what stage of the buying process they're in. Are they a year away from buying? Are they 2 years? Are they just curious and looking, whatever it may be?
Yeah.
I do want to point one thing that when it comes to systems, when it comes to having a proper system that helps you qualify leads better. One example I'll show you here is I want to pull up out of these 6,135 leads in the system. I want to pull up all the leads that have been active, and I want to say, let's say within the last 90 days. So I want to show you how powerful this is. So there's been 1,155 leads that have been active in the last 90 days. This means they've looked at some listings on your website. And then I want to add another filter that says, I only want to now, from these 1,155, I want to pull up only leads that I have not made contact with yet, meaning that there's a new lead or a tried to contact lead. I've tried to contact them, but I haven't actually reached them.
Yeah.
There's a total of 523 in that stage.
Yeah.
So many times agents, may call them once, twice, 3 times and kind of forget about them.
Yeah.
But what you can also do is use SMS as a tool. So I want to maybe filter these 523 because there's a lot of them. This lead came in an hour ago. Sorry, this lead came in today. This lead came in yesterday. So I want to say from these 523, I want to see only leads that have registered. Let's say all leads before this date. So let's go back maybe a couple of months. Let's go to May. 1st. So these are all the leads that have registered before May
Yep.
and been active in the last 90 days. And I have not spoken to them or made contact to them. It's a total of 294. What you can do then is you could do select all here and then do a mass SMS. This asks, hey, are you sure you're sending a mass SMS message to more than 200 people? So what you do is you say, hey there, first name. I see you've been looking at some, let me make that proper. I see you've been looking at some listings in the last little while. I'd love to be able to help you see something. Are you at a stage where you want to go take a look at something? Question mark.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, you're blasting out a message to 294 people that you're not going to lose anything from because you haven't even contacted them. You haven't even made contact with them yet. But it gives you the ability, a proper system will give you the ability to really mass execute what it is that you're looking to do, especially if you're getting leads at a mass coming in. And that's what internet lead generation is about. It's about quantity.
And to add to that, make sure that you're prepared to handle the replies. Because I remember it was last year, the year before, we were going through mine and we had like 800 and you told me like send a text message and then I blasted out and I ended up for like 2 days was responding to people either yes, I bought, no, I didn't buy, who is this? Oh, great, I'm just looking. And I was like, I should have done it in chunks. And it was powerful because it helped me weed out my database, but it's like, you got to be prepared and have a system to do that. I want to talk about, because you talk about adding value. And I think that's one of the most critical things to any business, especially real estate, that the more value you add, the higher the chance you're going to get business from the clients. And within real estate, there's actually 2 separate businesses. There's the buy side of the business and the sell side of the business. And a lot of people look at it as one. And the value adds you add to listings is not the same value adds as you add to buy. And when you're doing your lead generation, you have to think both. And how do I add both? The powerful thing when you build this is I always try to go, okay, if I build a list of sellers, then how can I provide value to them? They want a buyer. Then I go, okay, well then if they want a buyer for their house, what can I do to provide value? Okay, well, I've got a list of buyers who may be suitable for them. So I can go to my sellers and say, hey, look, I've got X amount of buyers in your area. We could line them up. On the flip side, buyers are coming in. The value they want is they want listings they don't know about. They want things that may not be a good fit. So you can then, if you do this right and you have your system set up, you can then say, okay, show me all the listings that may move, that may be a good fit, depending on how you tag them, and you can match them up. And to me, that's where it really gets to the next level, where you really grow your business when you start providing extra value instead of just sending listings.
So on to that part. So if you are in a listing presentation and you're looking for some kind of differentiator for yourself as the agent, one of the things that when you're one of our clients, you can use this tool, which is a listing exposure tool. The concept of the listing exposure tool is that it will allow you to pull up all of the leads we have in our system, not just your account, to show when you get this listing. So if I, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer, get this listing for you, I will expose your listing to these people that are they're currently looking for a home. These are people that have been active in the last 30 days. So let's say I'm pulling up people in Oakville. Let's say your property's in Oakville and you have a detached home in Oakville. And the price range of your property is between 1.2, let's say, to 1.3 million, right? That's where we're going to list your property.
Yeah.
And I know, let's leave the bedrooms and bathrooms away for now. So if I apply these filters, I currently, as of this date, have 2,547 people in our system that are ready to buy, that are looking for properties. They've been active in the last 30 days looking for properties just like this. And there are currently 20 listings active, and 21 days is the average time for a property to be on the market. Now, if I want to get more specific, I can say, you have a 4-bedroom property and 2-3 bathrooms. I currently have, when you go specific and detailed, it's going to pull up much less numbers because this is people that are only looking for 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. And obviously that's going to be much less. We do need to add in here the ability to do pluses. So for example, people that are looking for, not just individual specific ones.
But that's super powerful because most agents don't have anything like that. And a seller wants to know, what are you going to do to sell my house? And do you do you have a buyer for it? And you can now
Yeah.
say, I may not have a buyer specifically for it, but I've got access to 2.5 thousand buyers or 2,500 buyers that could be potentially.
Exactly.
And
Exactly. And these are people that are actually actively looking for a property in that area at this very moment. So
Yeah.
that is, you know, that's not something that agents don't have the ability to do that. You could also, if you want to pull up your own leads. So, you know, if you've generated a lot of leads yourself and you want to pull up specific leads, you can use our filters here to say you currently have, you know, let's say I have in my list, let's see, people that are looking for properties in Oakville, 1,814 people of my leads are currently looking for a property in Oakville. You could also add price range in here. So you can pull up the people based on price.
Yeah.
But using the full system gives you the leverage on a greater number rather than a smaller number.
Yeah. Yeah, and that for me, I've got a couple listings this year because I did that. In Binbrook, I generated leads and I walked in and I had 134 buyers in my database and I showed them. I said, look, I've got this many buyers already for Binbrook. And then they said, well, we're interviewing another agent. And I said, okay, well, ask that agent then how many buyers online do they already have? Right. And they said they did. And they said, well, we don't. And I said, right. And one of my lines is, listen, I started selling your house 6 months ago. Before I even met you, I've already started marketing your home. I've been working to try to get buyers for when your home hits the market. I've already got a list of buyers. Now, they're all not going to buy your home and they may not all be interested. However, it's going to give us the highest chance of success when we can already have that list. And
great line.
That's the value of having online leads, especially in a specific area. It can really help drive that.
I love that. That is an amazing line, and I think that's something definitely. And it's one of those things. It's you know, it's not what you say; it's how you say it.
Yeah.
And that is an incredible line to use, and especially using to showcase the fact that you have people in that area, gives you that that another tool that you can have in your arsenal when you want to you're fighting against that listing with other agents.
And one of the things I'm actually thinking about doing too is, and it's my takeaway to my audience is if I know I have a listing appointment coming up, is to run an online ad specifically around that, not specific to that property, but something similar to that, and try to generate buyer leads. So I can walk in, literally say, listen, you haven't even listed with me yet. I've already ran some online ads and I've already got
100%.
14 buyers looking from this ad,
100%.
and you haven't even hired me. Imagine what we can do when we get your home on the market. And do
Not only that, but so we actually have clients do this currently. So tag marketing.
Yep.
You know how our tag. Okay, so for those of you who don't know how tag marketing works, tag marketing is anybody who goes to your website gets tagged, and then the moment they leave your website, they see your ads everywhere they go. Everywhere they go, see your ads. So what these agents are currently doing is, you would think that, I want to advertise people that are looking for a listing or they want to sell their home on those ads. They say, no, I want to advertise in that area on my tag ads looking for buyers.
Yeah.
Primarily because what happens is when I'm looking for Ryan to, list my property, I would have probably visited Ryan's website. And the moment I've left Ryan's website, all I'm seeing is buying a Binbrook ad. Are you looking to buy a Binbrook ad? Click here. Let's talk to me. So then when Ryan comes in and actually talks to them, I've been looking for buyers for a while now, and they actually connect that with the ads. Holy crap, I've been seeing Ryan's ad everywhere looking for buyers. Makes that connection. So I'm really glad you said that, because we have a really good number of top producers that do this consistently. Their tag ads are only about buyers, and that is the reason why.
And it's very inexpensive. And it's easy to do. And the key really with any marketing, especially farming, when you're focusing, is repetition and having people see your stuff over and over again. And that's why that tag works so well. And that's why, like you said, advertising listings, even if they're not in the area, to your audience, they see it over and over and over again. And it's going to increase the odds that they're going to do business with you.
Absolutely. That's the general concept. Now, for a lot of you that when you think about farming, and a lot of times when we think about farming, we say, well, people are throwing the farming material in the garbage anyway, they're not interested. There's a really good reason why this happens. Actually, a psychological effect in our head that keeps us sane. So when we're not interested in something, we are not seeing it. I don't even want to see it. It's going in the garbage because I'm not interested in it. It's out there. But the moment that we become interested in something is the moment we start seeing it. Our brain allows us to see it and actually focuses on it. There's one thing that you can do to actually even trick your brain into doing this right now. and you can do this as an exercise right now. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to find something red in and around yourself.
I'm
And just,
Canadian, so it's my Tim Hortons cup.
there you go. And just focus in on that red color. Just focus and think about the red color. And then come back out and then look around anywhere. You'll start spotting red things wherever you look
Yeah.
coming at you, right?
Yeah.
You're seeing reds come at you really well. And this is your brain. This is how humans work. This is the same thing that happens when people start looking to sell or buy a home.
Yeah.
When they're interested in that, they're going to start noticing the real estate ads. They're going to start noticing the things around you. And this is where it's important that your tag ads say the right thing, that it's the same branding over and over and over and over again.
And that's why I love farming. And I've said it on other interviews, and I've said it for years, that I'd rather have 5 signs in one neighborhood than one sign in 5 neighborhoods, because that repetition just really builds on it and helps that grow. And that's why online is so effective. And so we talked about with one interview I did with Matt Santagappa, and he was talking about the evergreen effect with online, and how you can have a lot more effect than just a postcard, because you send it out once, they look at it, chuck it, and it's gone. Right. With online, you can do it for pennies and have it being shown over and over and over again. And they don't even realize it. Like you said, they're not looking for it, but it's there and it's seeing it. And then when they are ready, they go, "Oh, I did see that. I saw that there. I was," and they've been paying attention without even knowing it.
Exactly. Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
This has been great. There's a lot of great information here. So if people are interested in finding out more about Agent Locator and what you can do, what's the best way for them to check it out and get a hold of you?
Yeah, so the best way is, I'm just going to pull up the website here so you guys can see it as well. So agentlocator.ca.
Okay.
And if you are interested, there's information on the website you can go through and fill out. If you want to get a demo and actually just, have one of our people demo our products, demo our services, explain everything to answer your questions, you can book a demo. We have enough salespeople at whatever time you're available. It's a screen sharing demo, so it would be good if you're on your computer when you do it, and that would be the best way for you guys to reach out.
And like I said, I can't say enough good things. I've been with you guys for, I think, almost 5 years now, and the customer service is fantastic. I am evangelical about you guys and share how awesome they are. The systems, the tools, and the price is one of the biggest things too. Like, if to get what you guys are offering, some people are paying $1,000 a month, and you're a fraction of what those are. And just, I can't say enough good things. So check it out, book a demo, and even if you're not interested, just at least see what you offer. And if you're comparing, just at least see apples to apples of what you can get, because I know you guys will blow people out of the water if they're interested.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much, Ryan. I appreciate your time. And
so we have one other segment, or 2 things I want to go through.
Yes.
Adding a new segment in, which you talked about, is if you were to recommend a book, what book would you recommend?
Yes.
You have a great one, so share that with us.
I do. So I have a book that I've read. I'm reading it for the second time now. I read it about 3-4 weeks ago, and it's changed my entire life completely. So the book is called Getting Things Done by David Allen. And the book talks about organizing your life and organizing the things that you have inside your head, so that you are not really bringing back up constantly. So I'm sure a lot of us can attest to this and say this has happened to them, where you may wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, and for some reason or another, your head just brings ideas and all these things that I got to do this and I got to do that. And whether it happens at 1 o'clock at night, or whether it happens when you're working on something, I'm busy doing something, and all of a sudden I'm getting, oh my God, I forgot to do that. And you jump on that, and you jump on another project, and you don't get any of them done.
Yeah.
Getting things done is absolutely changed my entire life, from the perspective that it's given me a structure and a way to get all this crap out of my head into a list, not one list, into a few lists, into properly going through it.
Yeah.
And honestly, that would be the book that I would suggest to anybody. I mean, I've got a lot of books. I love books. I probably read 3 books every month, but this book is just by far one of the best ones, that giving me an immediate action, an immediate something that I can take and implement into my structure, and it's just awesome.
Awesome. So we'll put a link to that. If people want to check out that book, they can get that. As you can see, I love books as well, so I will definitely have to check that out. So yeah, I really appreciate you being on the show, and you provide a great value to myself, and I know you provide value to our audience if they do decide to work with you. So thank you for that, and we really appreciate being on the show.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks for checking out today's episode. If you'd like more videos like this, be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our Facebook page and our other social media channels. Looking forward to bringing you more great content like this, and happy farming.